What's up, guys? Thanks so much for stopping by the channel again today. We have another one of our Birthright faction reviews here for the Southern Coast. So thanks so much again stopping by. We'll continue on as we normally do. So we'll take a look at some of the features of the country, and then some of the tips and tricks of maybe running it as a PC, and maybe things to look out for also if you're the DM. So that being said, we looked at Ilion in our previous video. Today we're going to look at Medoere or Medoear, some different pronunciations there, but nonetheless, so this is another one that is recommended for players. So anytime it says recommended in the book, that's something you as a PC could run. That being said, any neighboring countries that are PC recommended, the DM could certainly take control of as well if needed. The alignment on this one's chaotic good, and if you're a priest character and looking for basically running your own country, this is your chance to do that. So not only are you the head of state, but you're the head of the church here as well. So let's take a look at what's going on here. And this is a fairly small country, but it does give you some potential military options as well. So the three provinces that you have here are Alamir, Breme, and Kerwell, with Alamir being the major one there. So your character, if you want to inherit or run the actual existing leader here, is Suris Enlian, and she is basically a level 4 priest, but so she controls all of the law, or not all, sorry, I should say most of the law in Alamir, some of the law in Breme. It's still widely open there. She only controls a little bit of a holding there. That being said, in Kerwell, you do have a little bit of a sort of immediate problem that you probably want to take care of there. Your neighbor to the northwest, who runs another one of the one province countries, Gilder Kalian, GK, he basically controls all of the law in that province. So it's not necessarily openly rebellious or anything to you, but you would probably do well to remove his influence as you can without overly drawing his wrath. And he's not necessarily a military threat, but he would certainly be working behind the scenes to harm your rule potentially. So that's something that's like an immediate thing you want to look at there. And so on the temple side, there's a little bit of stuff going on here as well. So you have RCS, which is Ruorinil's celestial spell. He's kind of like the god of magic. So you are the head of state of that church here. So you do control the max amount in basically all of your provinces there. So while you are a little bit contested in Kerwell, again on the political side, but you being the head of church, you have some influence on that side. That being said, in the capital Alamir, there is also a small, very small holding for the but the impregnable heart of Halen. Again, that's kind of the major religion of the major god, or one of the major sects of the main god of the setting here. So, but overall, again, you still dominate the religious scene there. On the guild side, it's definitely some action going on there, and it's kind of split three ways. You have, let's just find it here. So El Hadid, who is mainly based out of Ilion, does have a holding in your capital, and it's kind of split between him and then OT represents Orthian Tain, which is a southern Medoear shipping and imports. If I'm not mistaken, he is mainly out of Diamond, but we'll see that in just a bit. And then Kalian, kind of paired with his political influence in Kerwell, also runs all the guild activities there, so he's kind of uncontested. So, and again, he's a dangerous operator there, but he runs the Heartlands Outfitters. So what you might do initially is try to raise up the level of that province and then sort of start working a law holding in there, and start contesting his influence and working that down. Sort of putting a bigger stamp politically on your part of the country. The sources, there's not too much magic to be had in Medoear. That being said, your smaller provinces do have a little bit more there. But your neighbor to the south, again, Roger Aglundier from Ilion, he does have a small source holding in your capital, so that will probably eventually drain out if you keep raising the level of the province. And then HE, let's find that here, is Hermedhie. Again, some of these are rough pronunciations here, but he is another wizard who basically runs the rest of your, or controls the rest of your sources, so you could potentially turn to either of them. But the regent yourself, so you are basically, again, taking the role of Cirrus Enlian if you want to start there, or you could potentially fill in the role as her successor. But she's pretty solid overall, so starting off as a level 4 priest, she has a major bloodline. She's also neutral good, which is a little bit different than, of course, your overall country rating of chaotic good. So she keeps a close watch over the land, controlling your theocracy with a velvet fist. Unfortunately, her control is not absolute as she would like, so she enforces her edicts a little more harshly than she should. And again, that's a lot of that is basically as a result of that situation in Carewell. So that's kind of like your major, or one of your major issues to start off with. As the priestess of the god of moon and magic, she spends most of her days abed and works under the moon at night. Therefore, she takes care of most of her courtly work at night, also giving her capital city of Breme a different schedule than the rest of the kingdom. So something to also keep in mind, and also role play as well would be pretty interesting there. She does have the one lieutenant here, so the commander of your tiny army, Lord Cotrin Skirvin. He's just a level 3 fighter. He's chaotic good and a minor bloodline there. So as it says, yeah, a little bit of blood of his own. So the regent keeps a close eye on him, knowing his ambition might strip away his common sense. Other than that one flaw, she has chosen her commander well, and the two see eye to eye on pretty much policy in general. So, and the reason you want to keep him in check is just because you don't really want to upset either of your two sort of essentially allied neighbors to the east, but you have a bigger sort of physical threat on your western and northern border, one being a human realm, Diomed, which you kind of broke away from in the past, but then also you have the Spiderfell directly to your north. So almost 100 years ago, Brunzera, an ambitious priest of Rurnell, carved 3 provinces from Diomed, still weak from the loss of land to Rowstone. However, Cirrus Enlian became the first ruler of a fully independent and free Medoear 8 years ago. Hyrule Dime, the Baron of Diomed, seeks ways to reunite these lost provinces with his own kingdom, and rumors claim he's waiting for any excuse to war with Medoear for his ancestral land, so you do want to tread very carefully there as well. And that will be part of the problem of getting rid of the influence of Gilder Killian, just because he could certainly sort of have his machinations behind the scenes to stir up a war if you're trying to weaken his position. So important NPCs, right? Gilder Killian, speaking of him, from Endir, controls the law and guilds of Carewell. He and Enlian have yet to reach an understanding of who's in charge there, and the two have nearly come to physical disagreement. For now, though, they remain content to settle their differences through subtle intrigues. Yet Carewell answers to the theocracy only when Killian wills it. So again, you kind of are hamstrung a little bit there. The archpriest's attempts to wrest away control of the law have made the guildmaster determined to turn the province against her until she buckles, or until she drives him and his cronies from the land. So depending on how you want to crack down on that, again, there's going to be consequences either way, but you can't really afford to have a third of your country sort of not really under your control. The archpriest, Cirrus Enlian, recently gained a court wizard, so Hermetier, so he is actually yours. He is a level 7 wizard too, so that being said, he's probably going to be your main magical go-to there, although again, you don't really want to upset your neighbor Aglondier to the south too much either. But he does have a major bloodline there, and a lawful neutral status as well, or alignment. He has yet to invest regency into the theocracy. Regency is, again, kind of like the currency used to run your country, or the stat. But the regent and Gilder both take steps when necessary to ensure that nobody else, namely Aglondier, gains new sources in their province. Though neither Enlian nor Killian knows your wizard well, both of them have faith in her. So again, that being said, you eventually want to maybe bring the wizard more firmly on your side and sort of get Gilder Killian's clutches out of your court wizard, essentially, so you can, again, more easily solidify a rule of your country. So a little bit of the description of the country itself. So the terrain resembles that of neighboring Diomed, predominantly hills and meadows. The fields look ordered and well kept, and the towns form in the same clear pattern, but there's a certain element of chaos to the air that doesn't really exist in your neighbor to the west, Diomed. The people don't act as controlled as they do in Diomed, and they seem more likely to erupt in laughter and song than their Western cousins. Though the priests levy their taxes and control the laws, the people still enjoy a certain amount of freedom. The theocracy doesn't crush their spirits, but encourages the best from everyone. So, again, if you're looking to like play something like a very strictly religious kingdom or kind of almost like a crusading kingdom, this is probably not it. So this is going to require a little more subtlety on your part, but at the same time, some aggression or firmer action is going to be warranted to, again, get the Guilder out of control of one of your provinces, essentially. So it's going to be a tough but interesting challenge, and worthwhile, I think, to play that well. And hopefully the DM cooks up something good for you there. The priests definitely hold the power here. They act as guardians of the public spirit, both morally and physically, and empowered to use force as necessary to preserve common good. All priests prove well trained in the physical arts, but also as well. So fortunately, your leader here also makes sure they undergo thorough testing to weed out those who come to Rurinel's priesthood solely to gain power. Of course, in Carewell, the law remains open to interpretation. Gilder Kalian does his best to make sure the priests there give him as much loyalty as they give to their god, and that's another area where you're going to have to kind of thin out the bad weeds of any priests that maybe are split in their loyalties there. So you got sort of your church business to take care of, but also then on the political side. So, and you're going to have to come at him on the economic side too. So, you either need to drive him out completely or come to some sort of understanding. But again, the longer he has any kind of influence in your country, the rougher it's going to be. So, just something to keep in mind there. The weather in your country is a little strange, and it's affected by basically the trade winds from the coast and storms from the Spiderfell to the north. Again, that's that NPC kingdom. Occasionally, storms will blow north from the sea to meet the cloud perpetually over the Spiderfell, and Medoear takes the brunt of the damage. Though the climate makes the land look a bit gloomy, it's given the population more resolve to enjoy life. So just a little bit on that, so just to kind of get a feel for the atmosphere. Now, there is a Player's Secrets of Medoear, which we'll cover in detail too, and it does kind of actually give you a description of your starting army that you have. Not to be exact here, but you do have a smallish army. I want to say it's like in the 3 to 5 unit range initially, which you can't really afford much more than that right now either. Unfortunately, here they don't really give you the detail in the book on sort of a starting amount of regency and gold bars that you have. So you do have certainly a lot of little challenges there to start running your country, but it's not all bad either. So as far as like actual threats to sort of like being taken over, again, Diomed's probably going to be your most typical one there. He's obviously always scheming there overtly and covertly, and is really probably the most militarily the existential threat there. That being said, whenever the Spiderfell decides to go on a rampage and sort of send its hordes of non-humans out into its neighboring countries, that could affect you as well if they're coming directly at you, or whatever the DM decides there. You might need the aid of your neighbors to the east, or you might need to go aid them too, which always will be a good look for you there. You might try and enlist your neighbors too to help you get Kaolian's influence out, and you might throw some support their way in different ways as well. So it's definitely something you're going to have to work hard towards on that end too. So depending on how you work the guild angle, again, you might enlist either the others here, so El Hadid or Orthian Tain, to maybe see if they will help you stealthily tackle Kaolian and Carewell. And if you can sort of root him out on the economic side, it might make it easier to then drain his political influence out as well, and sort of raise yours up at the same time. So something to keep in mind there. We forgot to do it on our Ilian video, and apologize for that, but we need to go back and look at the map real quick, just to, again, sort of paint the picture here. So Ilian, again, is that one province country, so you kind of sandwich between you as Medoear and Rosestone, so they're not really going to be a threat as far as taking you over. They don't really have the army for it. But these are the three countries that broke away from Diomed formerly. So formerly it was a fairly large territory, but it's kind of been gutted when the three countries broke away. So like I said, you always have him to deal with as far as potentially wanting to invade you. If he really wanted to focus on you and had no sort of nothing restraining him there, he could certainly run over you pretty quickly. You would certainly need help from Roazhon to stem that tide. Spiderfell kind of occupies your north here, so you do have that potential NPC threat there. And the guy that's kind of causing you all this trouble in Carewell is Kalian, who does have some special influence in the Spiderfell in a weird way, but we'll cover that down the road. Not any spoilers on that just yet, but he is just a one-province country, but even if you wanted to sort of go invade him to deal with him, he's got all kinds of stuff going in many, many different countries. So in that sense, it's really like sort of pulling on a spider's web. You will cause all kinds of ripple effects and other problems. So it's not such a simple thing as like just getting rid of him permanently, but it will take some work to get him out of your smaller northern province there. So I know I misspoke earlier. Actually, the capital is in Breme, which is that same province there. I could have sworn it was in Alamir, but that being said, Alamir is your biggest province as far as population goes, but it is also on the border with Diamond, so you do want to be a little bit careful there. But at some point, probably would be worth raising up Breme's level 1 or so, and then again, just to get more power and influence and economic abilities and resources. But that's all for a different video there, where we discuss the mechanics of running your country. So that being said, if you could stabilize your situation, get, I think, Kalian out first, make sure you're okay with your allies here, at least nominally. Certainly Roazhon, you wouldn't want to irritate them really. They could also sort of deal with you militarily, but raising up for probably a few years and fixing all the internal issues of your country, setting up some economic benefits there. You do have coastal territory, so forging some extra trade routes would be good there. And again, we'll cover this in more detail as we get the information when we cover the player secrets of Medoear, so that will make some of these potential strategies make more sense. But that being said, you know, again, you're not really like the crusading church as far as like causing like a religious war or anything like that, but at some point, you know, you might see if the others would be on board here in sort of pushing back against Diamond and maybe either taking some more of his territory and really just reducing the potential threat of him, or getting rid of him altogether. But you do have to be careful in upsetting some of the other heavy hitters that are more in the Heartlands region, and so on and so forth. So you just want to be careful there. So it's a tough situation, but it's a fun country to play as well. So let us know in the comments, guys, what you think of Medoear. Have you played as them, or had fellow PC play as them? Thoughts and experiences there. Or has it been an NPC kingdom for you, depending on where else you've been in the region? Let us know in the comments, guys. Be happy to hear from you. Again, thanks so much for stopping by. It really does help. And don't forget to like and subscribe. That again also helps the channel grow. And we'll continue on in our coverage here. I do believe next we will visit Diamond actually, and then move on to some other things in the southern coast that remain. So again, thanks so much, guys. Hope you have a good one. We'll see you down the road.